Air Force took possession of its second B-21 Raider flight test aircraft last week at Edwards Air Force Base in California. This addition, according to an Air Force release, allows the service to expand its testing capabilities.
This is the most expensive game of hide-and-seek in history. Hundreds of millions of dollars for a single aircraft whose primary mission is to make sure that no one ever sees it. We're talking about the B-21 Raider. If it can truly penetrate areas where conventional aircraft would require dozens of escort fighters, electronic warfare planes, aerial tankers, and cruise missiles, then a single stealth aircraft could replace an entire air operation. Right now, its testing program is not merely proceeding according to plan, it's progressing almost 3 times faster than scheduled. But at the Pentagon, where nearly every major project falls years behind schedule, that kind of speed is not necessarily a reason for pride. It raises a question. What did the engineers have to sacrifice? The answer is hidden in the Raider's design, in what is no longer there. In the middle of the 20th century, the answer to the question, how do you survive in hostile airspace, seemed obvious. You had to fly faster and higher than the enemy. The legendary Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird could accelerate to Mach 3.3 and climb above 85,000 feet, an altitude beyond the reach of most interceptors of its era. Even if a fighter pilot or surface-to-air missile crew managed to detect it, by the time they established a weapons lock, the Blackbird would already have disappeared beyond the horizon. Speed literally functioned as armor. But by the 1970s, it had become clear that this armor was rapidly becoming obsolete. America's adversaries were fielding increasingly advanced surface-to-air missile systems and radars capable of detecting and tracking targets at enormous distances, regardless of whether they were flying below the speed of sound or at Mach 3. A missile that was faster than the aircraft and could be guided through several channels at once left speed with almost no chance of success. Military planners quickly reached a conclusion: if escaping from modern air defenses was becoming nearly impossible, then the aircraft would have to hide from them instead. That was how the stealth doctrine was born. It began with the angular and temperamental F-117 Nighthawk stealth attack aircraft, but American engineers soon introduced the world to a far more advanced stealth bomber, the B-2 Spirit. Unveiled in 1988, the B-2 became the first genuinely low observable aircraft of its kind. Its flying wing configuration, exotic radar-absorbent coating, whose composition remains one of the most closely guarded military secrets, a minimum number of sharp angles, and fewer joints capable of reflecting radar energy allowed it to reach almost any point on the planet and strike before enemy air defenses could even attempt an interception. However, the Spirit's greatest enemy was not hostile air defenses, it was its own price. The entire program cost approximately $44.7 billion. When all development, testing, and production expenses are included, every aircraft built cost taxpayers an average of more than $2 billion in 1990s dollars, or over $4 billion in today's money. The Pentagon originally planned to purchase 132 bombers, but the aircraft's staggering price and the collapse of the Soviet Union drastically reduced those ambitions. Production stopped after just 21 aircraft. Almost all of them remain in service. That may sound like good news, but it's also a serious problem. When your entire fleet of stealth strategic bombers consists of fewer than 20 aircraft, losing even 2 of them means losing a significant share of your unique stealth capability. Then there's the issue of age and the aircraft's original purpose. The B-2 was designed for a Cold War scenario and for penetrating Soviet air defenses. Today, however, one word appears in almost every Pentagon discussion: China. China's rapidly expanding and increasingly sophisticated network of radars and surface-to-air missile systems in the Indo-Pacific region presents a completely different challenge from a potential penetration deep into European airspace in the 1980s. But the problem is not limited to how modern America's bombers are, it also concerns how many of them remain. The veteran Rockwell B-1B Lancer, which was designed in the late 1980s around speed and a massive weapons payload, lost its nuclear role long ago and is physically aging. The Boeing B-52 Stratofortress is itself a relic of the Cold War and is now entering its 8th decade of service, despite undergoing countless modernization programs. Meanwhile, the entire fleet of stealth strategic bombers is still limited to roughly 24 B-2s. The United States Air Force has found itself in a situation where there simply are not enough of them. That's why the Pentagon officially plans to acquire at least 100 B-21 Raiders, although defense analysts have repeatedly argued that the United States may need to field between 150 and 200 aircraft. Washington is being forced to move in two directions simultaneously. On one hand, it must continue investing billions of dollars in modernizing and maintaining the combat readiness of the aging B-1B and B-52 fleets. On the other, it must launch production of their successor as quickly as possible. The B-21 is not merely intended to replace aging aircraft. For the first time in several decades, it's supposed to provide the United States with a genuinely large fleet of stealth bombers. At first glance, the B-21 Raider is almost indistinguishable from its predecessor. It uses the same flying wing layout, although its contours are smoother than those of the more angular B-2, while its air intakes are recessed into the airframe rather than protruding above it. However, the family resemblance is deceptive. This is an entirely new generation aircraft, designed 30 years after the Spirit and incorporating decades of technological progress. According to media reports, the Raider's wingspan is significantly smaller, between 144 and 154 feet, compared with the Spirit's 170-foot wingspan. The aircraft as a whole is also considerably lighter and more compact. Although only the Pentagon knows the exact figures, preliminary expert estimates suggest that the aircraft will reach a speed of Mach 0.8 and have an unrefueled range of between 5,600 and 6,900 miles. With aerial refueling, its range will become truly intercontinental. Aerial refueling is also connected to one of the new aircraft's most practical advantages. Its two non-afterburning Pratt & Whitney turbofan engines will consume significantly less fuel than the engines used by the B-1, B-2, and B-52. In the Pacific, where distances between bases and potential targets are measured in thousands of miles, and where aerial tankers would become high priority and relatively vulnerable enemy targets, engine efficiency is no longer merely a figure and a technical specification. It becomes a real factor in the survivability of the entire operation. The less fuel a bomber requires, the less frequently tankers must risk entering dangerous airspace, and the more flexible the mission route can become. The Raider's weapons payload is smaller than that of the B-2, which can carry up to 22 tons of bombs, but that was a deliberate choice made during the earliest stages of defining the requirements for the Air Force's future bomber. The Pentagon described the requirement using the formula 10 by 10, delivering approximately 4.5 tons of weapons over a distance of 10,000 miles. The priority was not maximum tonnage, but stealth, range, and the ability to fly as frequently as required, rather than performing rare, high-profile missions with the aircraft loaded to its absolute limit. The Raider carries all of its weapons exclusively inside internal weapons bays, preserving its stealth profile by avoiding externally mounted munitions. Those bays will be capable of carrying conventional low-observable AGM-158B JASSM-ER cruise missiles, Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile Extended Range, as well as B-6112 and B-6113 nuclear gravity bombs. The aircraft will also carry the future AGM-181 LRSO long-range standoff nuclear-armed cruise missile. However, the true revolution behind the B-21 is not found in its aerodynamics or its weapons. It's found in the way the aircraft was built. From the very beginning, Northrop Grumman designed the aircraft as a digital object. A complete digital twin of the Raider existed before the first sheet of metal was cut in Palmdale. Technicians used augmented reality tools to rehearse procedures on a virtual model before touching the real aircraft, while the results of structural and flight testing are continuously compared with the predictions produced by the digital model. According to company engineers, the real-world results have repeatedly exceeded the digital forecasts. Northrop Grumman invested more than $5 billion of its own money in infrastructure and digital tools. The time required to certify the aircraft's onboard software was reduced by approximately half before the first Raider even took to the air. The scale of cooperation also extended far beyond a single factory in California. More than 8,000 people and over 400 supplier companies across 40 states are working on the program, turning the B-21 into a nationwide industrial project. This digital preparation explains the most important news of recent months. The B-21 Raider's strategic stealth bomber flight test plan, originally scheduled to take 180 days, was completed in only 73. The official position of the United States Air Force was unequivocal. this was not the result of cutting corners. Instead, every test flight was designed to accomplish several objectives simultaneously rather than just one. From the beginning, the developers and test personnel operated as a single team known as the Raider Combined Test Force. It brought together specialists from the Air Force Test Center, Air Force Global Strike Command, the Air Force Operational Test and Evaluation Center, and Northrop Grumman engineers. This avoided the traditional process of handing the bomber from one organization to another over a period of years, as had happened in previous aircraft programs. A particularly revealing milestone occurred on June 11, 2026, when, for the first time in modern flight testing history, an operational combat pilot entered the Raider's cockpit alongside a test pilot. Normally, military pilots must wait for years after a new aircraft's first test flight before receiving such an opportunity. The Pentagon official overseeing the program, Air Force General Dale R. White, publicly demanded that the team maintain a rapid pace but not act recklessly. That formulation was clearly intended to ease suspicions among experts and the media that the program was being rushed following reports of its impressive testing progress. At the same time, combining different phases of testing may mean that problems which previously would have been identified and corrected over a period of years before the aircraft reached operational pilots could now emerge in parallel with its first combat evaluations. That means the program will require far stricter real-time risk management. The test personnel themselves acknowledge this. The other question is whether the industry will be able to increase Raider production as quickly as the test program has progressed. Exotic skin materials and high-precision assembly processes can't simply be doubled at the snap of a finger. Perhaps the most revealing detail mentioned by almost every specialist publication is that Northrop Grumman has already recorded losses exceeding $2 billion as it attempts to build aircraft faster than required under the current contract. On the other hand, if sacrifices must be made to complete 180 days of planned testing in only 73 days, it's better to sacrifice the contractor's profit margin than the aircraft's technical safety standards. It's also important to understand that the B-21 is not an isolated project. It's only one of three pillars in the massive modernization of the United States nuclear triad. At the same time, the Pentagon is replacing its silo-based ballistic missiles under the Sentinel program and developing the Columbia-class ballistic missile submarines. This also explains why the Raider program's budget and scheduling are being monitored at such a high political level. The cost of delay is measured in more than money. While the B-2 was designed for the Soviet Union and potential battles over Europe, the B-21 was developed for a completely different map, the Indo-Pacific region and China. That explains the emphasis on enormous, unrefueled range, efficient engines, and minimizing dependence on aerial tankers. Another danger is that the club of countries operating strategic stealth bombers, a club that consisted of only one member for decades, is about to gain a second. Beijing first began publicly discussing the development of its Xi'an H-20 in 2016. Although the aircraft has still not been officially revealed to the public, representatives of the Chinese Air Force have been suggesting for years that it's approaching readiness. Leaks from recent months depict a project far more mature than early Pentagon assessments suggested. The aircraft reportedly has two internal weapons bays, a low observable diamond-shaped fuselage, an estimated weapons payload of at least 10 tons, and a range which, according to some estimates, would allow it to reach Guam or the Philippines from deep inside Chinese territory. Skeptics remain convinced that the H-20 will not enter service before the 2030s. However, its appearance in satellite imagery is itself a signal that America's monopoly on stealth bombers may soon become less secure. Russia's contender, the Tupolev Pakda, currently appears far less convincing. The program began around the turn of the 2000s. By 2009, designers had abandoned the idea of creating a bomber based on the supersonic Tu-160 and instead moved toward an entirely new aircraft. However, sanctions and resources consumed by the war in Ukraine have significantly slowed an already protracted project. According to various estimates, the Russian bomber was supposed to have a range of approximately 7,500 miles and a weapons payload of up to 30 tons. Its arsenal was expected to include long-range KH-102 cruise missiles and KH-47M2 Hensal hypersonic missiles, both of which can be equipped with either conventional or nuclear warheads. However, even independent Western analysts disagree over whether a flying Pakda prototype actually exists. That skepticism is especially understandable considering the excessively optimistic target for the beginning of serial production as early as 2027. But here's the interesting part. Despite the fact that all three countries operate under very different economic, political, and industrial conditions, all three next-generation bombers, the B-21, H-20, and PACDA, have arrived at the same technical solution: subsonic speed, a flying wing configuration, and an emphasis on low observability. None of these countries is developing a supersonic successor following the path of the Tu-160 or the canceled B-1A. This is a rare case of unanimous agreement. When asked what matters more, speed or invisibility, all three military doctrines independently arrived at the same answer. On the other hand, some American military experts argue that if an adversary possesses sufficiently modern and multi-layered air defenses, then sooner or later even the stealthiest aircraft risks being detected. That means it may be more rational to strike targets without ever entering the enemy's engagement zone, using long-range cruise missiles launched from B-52 bombers or future hypersonic weapons. The logic is understandable. Why risk a B-21 Raider worth more than $700 million and its crew if the same target can be destroyed by a missile launched from hundreds of miles outside the danger zone? In other words, the Pentagon's debate between speed and stealth is gradually being replaced by a debate between supporters of penetrating enemy air defenses and advocates of standoff strikes. So far, there's no clear winner. The scale of the issue was demonstrated during Operation Midnight Hammer in June 2025.
The U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime.
A total of 7 B-2 bombers, slightly more than one-third of the entire fleet of roughly 20 aircraft, took off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri and flew toward Iran for almost 18 hours without stopping, refueling 3 times in the air. Supported by more than 125 other aircraft, they crossed Iranian airspace and, for the first time in history, used 30,000-pound GBU-57 bombs in combat. In total, they dropped 14 of these weapons on underground nuclear facilities at Fordo and Natanz. All 7 Spirits returned home without a single shot being fired at them. Apparently, Iranian air defenses simply failed to detect them. The final military and political results of the operation are assessed differently, but the operation's fundamental meaning remains unchanged. A handful of stealth aircraft accomplished what, under different circumstances, would have required a far larger air campaign. This perfectly illustrates why such a stealth bomber is needed and how it can potentially replace dozens of other aircraft. Now imagine these roughly 20 Spirits being replaced by a fleet of between 100 and 200 even more advanced Raiders. That means the central question today is not really about engineering that's outperforming even the most ambitious schedules. It's about basic budget numbers and how many aircraft Congress will ultimately allow the Pentagon to purchase. How many aircraft do you believe would be the most reasonable number for the future B-21 Raider fleet? Be sure to share your opinion in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you can always stay connected. See you soon.